What we're going to do today is to take this safe place, take this time that we have, and look at the coronavirus in many different ways. Now, newspapers, television, radio stations, social media have covered this subject beautifully. They really have. They've approached it from every angle. So what angle can I take? Perhaps just to get you to think about it and to think what you might do in this time when we all have extra time. Boy, this is interesting, isn't it? That our time management now can be called into question. What do we do with this spare time? If we are not at work or we are not working, what do we do with that time? Before we talk about your business, I think it would be good to talk about you. Because in executive coaching, I call it that, by the way, because I want to make sure the executive is okay. So let's take the coronavirus and see what it means first. Physically, what does it mean? What about your fitness? Are you getting out for a run? Are you working out at home? If you can't go to the fitness center, don't just stop, because this is really important for you. Doing this cardio and getting the endorphins moving really helps. So don't stop that. I noticed this morning, I saw a lot of runners when I was out running, people I hadn't seen before. So I figure they're probably people who were at fitness centers that are not open right now. Or maybe they were just going stir crazy at home. But it was good. And we greeted each other. After all, we're all in this together. Nutrition-wise, you purchase things for home. You may not be able to go to your favorite restaurant, so cook well. Cook nutritious things. And enjoy this time with your loved ones. Also, call those people that you haven't talked to recently. You can still do that. So that is physical. Mental. There we want to see what we can produce. We're at home, so let's see how powerful we can be. There's a book right now that I think is excellent, and it is by Grant Cardone, and it's the 10X Rule. And I wanted to show you that book because right now, this is powerful. He talks about the fact that the 10X Rule is assessing the level of effort necessary to realize a goal. But he also says that the 10X rule also means adjusting my thinking so that I dare to dream at levels previously unimaginable. So when I first looked at the book several weeks ago, I wasn't thinking coronavirus, but now I am. And I'm thinking what a great time to be thinking at levels that were previously unimaginable. So we'll be talking about that today once we get to your business. Now, for some people, you might look at it spiritually too. If you are a churchgoer and your church is not in session, perhaps you're watching it online. Perhaps you are reading your daily meditations. And whatever book you use, if you're like me, I'm finding that any kind of meditations, this one I'm using this year, are 5-minute daily meditations, they all have more meaning. Especially, it says instant wisdom, clarity, and calm. They have more meaning right now. So continue to read that. And if you weren't going to church, don't look at it in a spiritual way. Just take that word spirit and make sure that you have a spirit alive in you as we tackle all the things that we're going to tackle. So finally, let's look at what we're doing corporately, and let's look at what we're doing individually. And maybe that can help you get ready to move to the next level or move things to the next level before business is back in session. I'm going to take a drink because there's one theory that if you take a drink every 15, 20 minutes, take a sip of water, that can wash down anything that might be part of the coronavirus. So I'm doing that. Okay, let's look at what you could be doing as an organization. I'm going to lead you through this, and I'm also going to make sure that you have my email in case you want to contact me so that we can figure out what this means for your organization. And again, there's no charge for that. I just want to help you right now. My email is dan@danchiodo, CHIOD as in Dan .net. So perhaps that'll help you. And yes, you can listen to my Level Up video podcasts also so that you can look at topics and see if any of them will help you right now in this time of need. You can find those on impactbydan.com and look under podcast, and you'll find those. So, an article that I recently wrote where I thought, everything's been said, what can I say, made me think of something a little extra. And here's how I explain it. I've worked in many parts of the country and the world. Everybody does things a little differently. There's something, though, where I live now in Florida that's really cool. And it is called season. If you live there, you know what that is. We're in season right now. Millions of people visiting. Well, maybe not right now, but usually millions of people visiting. So during season, business people will tell you there's no time to try new things because they have all this business coming in, all these people visiting them. But during non-season, which is a few months of the year, that's when they gear up for big things. That's when they do a lot of their training. That's when they change their systems. So I want you to pretend you're in non-season, because right now, as we do this webinar, we are at a point where we're not going back to work yet, or we're working from home, and we may have a little time to do some planning. So let me guide you through that and ask you the questions that I had in this article that I wrote. Number one, what could I be doing for my clients or my community right now during this pandemic? So that's really what we should think about first. That's why I'm doing this webinar. What does that mean to you? Is there anything you can do or offer your clients right now? And if there is, hop on it. Do it. Have your people participate in that. I've never seen spirit quite this high for organizations that have a lot of questions right now, but aren't afraid to step out there and do the right thing. So that's a question you ask yourself. Think of your skill set. In other words, all of the talents you and your employees have. Is there anything they can do for clients? Maybe for prospects. Maybe there's something you can offer at no charge or at a drastically reduced rate to say, I care and I'm here for you. So I want you to give that some thought. If you have products, bring your team together to look at all those products. And if there's anything you should be doing with those products, do it. If you have services, what services might you be able to offer them right now? And are there any that you might not have to charge for so that you can show them that's for them? And in terms of the community, we want to look there too. Isn't that something we've been trying to do as organizations? Get involved in our community? Well, think about any nonprofit groups you normally work with. Is there anything you should be doing right now for them? Or are there other nonprofits that you're hearing about who have needs? Should we be doing something for them? So this question, my first question, can be broke down several ways. You can make a list on your pad of paper. Clients, what can you do for them? Prospects, what could you do for them? And community, what could you do for people in the community? And just start there because that'll make you feel good. Number 2, do I have a strategic plan? If you don't have a strategic plan, now is a time to develop one. And what is in a strategic plan? Well, your vision. Put that down. The vision is at 30,000 feet, meaning how many counties, how many cities do I want to cover? And then you make a statement about what you see for the future. Now, one thing to keep in mind, for that process of figuring out your vision, forget about the pandemic right now. What were you going to do as a vision? Look there, because the pandemic won't last forever and we'll need to regroup soon. Now, your mission is more of a 300 feet look, looking down below you. What do we do each and every day for our clients? Why are we here? So that's something that should be in your strategic plan. You also have values. So make a list of your values. What's important to you? What are the 5 to 8 things that ring true for your organization? And your employees need to have those same values, or there will be a disconnect. And next, for our strategic plan, we can do a SWOT analysis. SWOT. The SW is for the inside of your organization. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? And then the other 2 are external. What are the opportunities that are out there? And what are the threats? So when you do that one for exterior, again, think about if the pandemic weren't here, what were our opportunities and what will they be after we're out of this? And in terms of threats, here I'll let you think about the pandemic because we can't just assume that something like this might not happen again. So let's think about that too. After that, you want some objectives for the year. So we're still in 2020. What are maybe 3 objectives that you have? I'll give you some examples. 3 objectives might be that we want to increase our revenues by such and such a percent over last year. Now, because we're doing a strategic plan and the pandemic has occurred, we may have to adjust that right now. Maybe another mission is to eliminate some expenses for the year. Since we're in this situation, what expenses could you eliminate to help right now? And maybe the third one is to train my employees. And that's probably beyond the training you thought you would do, because now you have some time that they can be trained. And the last part is your strategic plan is, well, each action step under those three objectives. So each objective will have certain action steps beneath it that you need to do to accomplish that objective. Now, here's a little secret. When you do, you want to make sure that each action step is assigned to someone who's the owner, is what we normally say. What is the deadline when this must be done? And then a place to check it off. That's a great box to check it off that you have done it. So basically, those are the guts of a good strategic plan. My next question is, if you do have a strategic plan, what are the things you can do earlier than you plan to do to be proactive? So in other words, if you have a strategic plan, you have certain things you are going to do certain months. But now that we have some time, how many of those things could we do now? If your strategic plan is like mine, there are many things that I spaced out because I wanted to have time to do them. But now I will do them in advance, because once we get the go-ahead to get back to work, we're going to be busy. Why not have accomplished all those things now? What are the things I can do earlier than were originally planned so that you can be proactive instead of reactive? Let's face it, we probably did not see the coronavirus hitting the way it has here. And so right now we're reactive. And perhaps you might say the country was reactive. But there are ways now that we can get proactive. So let's do it. Question number 4. Who are the people in my field from other parts of the country whom I need to talk to? I always ask my clients to do that year round. Find someone who is in an organization much larger than yours so that you can brainstorm with them, figure out what they're doing, and maybe do some of those things yourself. And then find someone who is in an organization your size so that you have someone that you can say, well, they're about the same size, so they face certain things that I do too, and learn from them. And, you know, sometimes we put those calls off, but right now they're not busy. So what are they doing? What are they doing that we might be forgetting? Now's the time to do that. Another question, number 5, what systems need to be upgraded or added? It's time to do it. Perhaps there was a system you were going to put in place. Why not get your team to help you with it? By the way, this is a great time to delegate. I don't really like the word delegate as much as empower, because delegate sounds like, here, I don't want to do this, you do it. But empower means that you're teaching one of your team members to do a process. And if they learn it well, you may let them do that in the future too. So let's empower them. Let's look at all of our systems to see what needs to be changed. And by the way, Some companies are trying to do business right now, and it's not easy for them, and they are dropping some prices. Is there any system that you were going to purchase, maybe a physical system that maybe is less costly right now? Would it be a good time to buy it? Get it set up. So you look at all your systems, both internal and external. Systems that your employees do they all make sense? Is there anything that we're doing that doesn't have to be done? Should we get rid of that? What systems do we have with our vendors? Should we be changing that? So all of this can be helpful in building a better tomorrow. So many times we say the past is golden and the future is so rosy, but what's important is the present. And let's face it, right now, it's probably difficult for some organizations to think about the future. So we must focus on the present, and we have to have a positive outlook about it. That's why I'm giving you these questions to ask. I think once you immerse yourself in this, you will learn some things that you can be working on, and then within time, it will be business. Maybe not as usual, but business better than today. Number 6, have I done all of my performance evaluations? This would be a good time to do them while you have some time. Look at the past year. Write them carefully. Let your people do a self-evaluation. Whatever evaluation you have, give them a copy and have them rate themselves or write about the same things that you're doing. And now you can compare the two. And you'll have some great discussions where there's a difference in the rating that you each had or the ideas that you each had about that area, and those are points for discussion. Time for a water break. No, you too. Get some water. Finally, what are some topics I can discuss with my employees in one-on-one meetings that I have been neglecting? So many leaders say that they are going to do one-on-ones, and many of them do. It's part of how they operate. It's a very good thing to do. However, some will say, well, we did it for a month, but then, things got in the way. There's a lot to do. Well, now there's time. So have those one-on-one conversations, and they don't have to be negative conversations, but positive ones too. So by negative, I mean there may be a few things that you have to cover that they need to improve upon. Let's not call that negative. Let's call it constructive criticism. That's going to make them better, help them level up, if you will. But also tell them what a great job they're doing when they do it, because not enough of that is happening today. We're not telling people how good they are, and that's important. That was my last question, but maybe another question that we ought to ask, a bonus question, if you will, is how are you doing as a leader? Are you the leader that you want to be? Or should you be looking at this 10 times principle of helping yourself do the things that were previously unimaginable, like Grant Cardone is talking about? Previously unimaginable. And we know it can happen. We know that it can happen right now, that it should happen right now. And part of this is all about your attitude. So it's really important that even though you may have some butterflies within you, it's important that you portray your best self, that you take a deep breath and make sure you apply the filter before you say what you're about to say, because people remember what you say. You're the leader. And if you have a positive attitude, then they probably will too. If you have a negative attitude, they will, and probably worse. So that's why we have to keep ourselves at the top of our game. So maybe one of the things I should have also said is, back in the physical part, when we talked about the physical you, is get enough sleep. It's very helpful. And some new research shows that when you fall asleep, if you can think about the things you're grateful for, then you tend to fall asleep quicker, more easily. And I've tried it, and it works for me, and it might work for you. Right now, those things we're grateful for may be fewer, but challenge yourself. Look around you at the team you have, the family you have, the life you have. And don't forget what that looked like, and in some cases looks like, but in the future, it's going to be even better if you visualize that. So I know we're worrying right now. And I know it's hard to use that phrase that I usually use with clients: 80% of what you worry about rarely happens. Well, right now we look around and say a lot's happened. That factor of things I worried about is a little higher today. I get that. But I also think that the more we work on our organization, the more well prepared we will be in the future. And that if you don't do that right now, then you're going to be asking yourself why you didn't do it. Because as we listen to what could happen with business, is that it will be booming once we're out of this. So get everything set up so that you are prepared for it. So now we look at the coronavirus, and we already see certain things that are improving. We know there's a lot to hit yet, but did you notice the certain things that are improving? Have you talked about those things with your team? Have you been thinking that way? Because if you do, you will help move yourself to a whole new place. When this is over, you're going to be so proud of yourself, because we as a nation, from what I can see, are doing the right things. And the government has stepped it up to provide some of the right things. So again, back to you. What are you going to be doing? There's so much that you could do and that I encourage you to do. Again, I tell you that if you would like to contact me, I would welcome that. Dan at Chiodo, CHIOD as in Dan O.net. And we will talk. We will get on Zoom. We will talk about your organization. And just like this webinar, it's complimentary right now, because we're in this together and we have to help each other out. I'm Dan Chiodo, and I am president of Impact Training and Executive Coaching. Thank you for letting me spend these moments with you.